Good afternoon, viewers. We have a big update coming in from the United Kingdom. Sir Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of the Labour Party which has returned to power after 14 years, has now stepped down as the Prime Minister after 2-year tenure. Now, remember, viewers, the last time it was an elected Prime Minister, that was Boris Johnson, after which Rishi Sunak of the Conservatives and Boris Johnson also of the Conservatives, and then of course there was Elizabeth Turner, and then these were rapid replacements. And then of course Kemi Badenoch, she became the leader of the Conservatives when they became an opposition party. And after 14 years, the Labour Party returned to power in the UK. Now, in an emotional speech, Sir Keir Starmer has talked about how he took the UK from a trajectory of, a country which he inherited with a lot of immigration issues, with a lot of child unsafety, and, defense spending was low, and he actually capped all of that. I actually contributed towards that. If I have to go on to his exact speech, he said that he inherited a party 6 years ago which was financially and morally corrupt. Now, this caught my attention. I mean, I have read a lot about Sir Keir Starmer, and in some narratives come across his sociopathic and narcissistic nature. But I did not expect him to call his Labour Party morally corrupt. And it would take a little bit of deeper digging to know why he said what he said. He said that his tenure has lifted UK out of anti Semitism, increased defense spending, focused on national security, and developed a country where the people don't hate the national flag but rather love it, which is very different for a left leaning party like the Labour. And he said that he chose power to change Britain for the better and not for the sake of power. And he steps down, as per the BBC, in a time when actually the public sector is looking upwards. And now, internal sources tell me they did not see this coming. Of course, nobody takes President Donald Trump of the US seriously when he said that Sir Keir Starmer will be resigning. But there were reports, and we had a vigil on this news. Now, he's spoken about how the Labour emphasized on rights for workers, closed asylum hotels, a very big immigration issue, and kids, he said, were secured on social media platforms. But he conceded that the Labour Party internally is not ready to accept him as the leader who leads them to the next general elections. And that's where a different name comes into light, that is Andy Burnham. Now, this candidate is giving tough competition to Keir Starmer, but later on him, uh, he said, and I quote, party questions if I can lead the party to the next general elections, and I respect their will. So he does concede that the Labour Party has lost confidence in him, with even the Home Secretary, Red Cooper, who was one of his allies, she also going against him. Now, he stood by his Chancellor, the financial, basically, powerhouse of the UK government, which is Rachel Reeves. His own Deputy Prime Minister had resigned, and of course, then David Lammy was promoted to the role. He has set a timeline of opening up the elections for the new Labour leader as he steps down to 9th of July, and said that he will remain in power until September, when the national leader of the Labour will be elected. The whole process will take some time, he says. And he's, of course, said that he will give his successor full support, and he will resume the role of being a good husband and father. And that is where he teared up. Now, what is interesting in the UK electoral politics is that the Labour Party returned to power after 14 years, and Sir Keir Starmer, a public prosecutor by profession, led the country and the Labour Party to, victory, and then, of course, presenting a strong image In G7, he was captured hugging the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi. He also is behind the signing of the UK FTA. Now, UK is one of the first countries to have signed a trade deal with the US. And then, of course, the trade deal which was with India, that is also in culmination, and it is set to actually benefit the UK more. And apart from that, of course, whenever I reported on his Wednesday debates in the parliament, they were very, very spicy and very, very hard. They hit hard on the conservatives, blaming them for all the failures of the country. And of course, the rebuttals were to hear, and we credit his public prosecution history for that. But him stepping down is also a snowball effect of the Epstein files, where the US envoy, basically the UK envoy to the US, was named in the Epstein files. And since then, there were calls for resignation of Sir Keir Starmer. But of course, he refuted such calls unless and until it became constantly unbearable to continue leading the government with the high profile resignations of the health minister and the defense minister. And of course, this was something that people expected and didn't expect at the same time. I mean, I have insider sources telling me in the public sector they did not see this coming. And they complain that, of course, UK needs a god in place of a leader who can solve everything, which is why the rapid resignations. This is the sixth resignation in 10 years, viewers. This is something to be focused on. So, on an average, not even 2 years, Prime Minister is continuing, and we all remember um, the tenure of Liz Hurley, not Turner, I believe, but she basically had a 3 month tenure, and or 3 days. I'm not collecting the details properly, but yes, Keir Starmer. This is a major development, not really covered in Indian media as I was scanning through his resignation speech being run. This being flashed and reported, but this is the insider information. This is the kind of decoding on a first level basis. More on this when we bring in a reportage about who his successor can be, and of course Andy Burnham, who is going to change the trajectory of likely the Labour Party and the politics of the United Kingdom. Sir Keir Starmer has said that he has informed the King Charles III of his decision. And of course, at this point, he will be in power till September. He's saying that he will support a smooth transition to power. This is something similar that we saw in Canada before the elections, but that was solely and solely because of the Trump tariffs and the 50% state pressures. Here in UK, there was internal turmoil. And of course, the Epstein files have a little, if not much, role to play in this resignation. More on this, viewers, later. Until then, keep watching the near for the latest updates. Thank you.